Tonight on Bon Voyage TV, we head back to Bolivia with Olivia on the second stage for honeymoon. We then go sailing on tall ships with Star Clipper Cruises, and of course we've got the deal of the week on Star Clipper Cruises. Coming up. Hi and welcome to Bon Voyage TV. I'm Jared Murphy from Bon Voyage Cruises and Travel, and I'm joined as usual by Olivia Van Leerop Maguire. What are you today?
I'm still Van Leerop, actually.
Still Van Leerop.
You can stick with that one.
And you've brought a furry friend.
Yes, I have.
Who's this?
This is Al the alpaca. It's the only purchase that I made when I was in Peru, actually. I was very good, but he's very soft and very lovely, and I got him for my sister who's about to have a little baby. So.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
Thanks for coming, Al.
Very cute. And then I also very generously got you a little gift. These these two little good luck dolls.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much.
There's a little man and a little lady, so there you
I
go.
like them. I love them. I don't know if
Maybe they've got little safety pins. You can maybe just wear it on your jacket.
I've got just the function to wear those too later in the year, and I'll send you a photo. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I'm glad I didn't break the budget. One of the things last week we promised people was we would talk a little bit about stage 2 of your honeymoon, which was Bolivia.
Yes.
And we were just talking before, and the only reason you went there was because it's rhymed with Olivia, and you've always wanted to go there.
Of course.
So what did you do in Bolivia, and what else is there to do?
Well, we didn't have a whole lot of time, but we went to La Paz. And near La Paz is a place called Death Road. And Death Road is named Death Road because it was the most dangerous road in the world for many, many years. I think right up until the 1990s, there was still at least one car falling off the edge every fortnight, and up to 200 to 300 people dying a year on that road. Because it's about a 60-kilometre road, and it was the only road from one village to the next. And it's narrow and basically just big sheer cliffs that drop off the side, and traffic would go both ways, and so you can imagine people flying to work and just flying off the side.
And you did that?
Well, I didn't drive it, so now they've built a new road, and Death Road has become more of a tourist attraction, so we mountain bike down it.
Mountain bike, that's even worse. Little tiny wee brakes this big.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy, pretty scary when you get to the loose gravel, you know. You go on loose gravel and there's a cliff there and there's a corner there and there's waterfalls above you as well.
So is there still cars going up and down? Or
well, I thought that there wasn't until we were literally at the top of the mountain about to bike down. And then the guide said, okay, so make sure you stay to your left in case there is oncoming traffic.
The left sounds like the cliffside.
It is, that's the thing. I was planning on sticking right to the cliffside the whole way, I mean, you know, to the wall. And I thought there'd be no traffic. I thought it was, you know, banned. But no, apparently cars can still drive, but they don't really, I mean, and you wouldn't. So we didn't come across any oncoming traffic, luckily.
I wonder if that's included on travel insurance, some of those risky activities.
I don't know, actually. Oh, we did have to
Probably
sign...
until you fly right off.
We did have to sign a massive, big, long waiver, I think basically saying that if you die or you injure yourself, it's not their problem.
I've seen my ashes too.
Yeah. But that was actually amazing. Really, really, really cool. Highly recommend it. And not as scary as it sounds, actually. And
still sounds scary to me.
what was actually really, really fun about that day was on the way out, so this over the time we were there were big protests going on by the locals because the mayor of La Paz was bringing in new regulations for building houses and new taxes, and the locals weren't happy about it. So they were basically blocking anybody from coming into the city or leaving the city. So it took us hours and hours to get out of the city to get to Death Road. We'd get to a point and there'd be massive boulders on the road. There were fires on the road, like burning big tyres and
Looks
stuff
like
like
they
that.
do protest big time there.
Yeah. But I don't know, for me, I quite like getting amongst that sort of stuff. You actually feel like you're really experiencing what it is to be there, you know.
With the people.
Yeah. So at one point we just couldn't get any further. The locals were rolling rocks and things under the bus as we were trying to drive along. But they weren't mean, they weren't horrible. They were just, making a demonstration. And so we hopped out of the bus and walked up the road and warmed our hands by one of the big tyre fires on the street and hung out with the locals, and they were singing and having a great time.
But for normal tourists who are trying to avoid such activity, like all our travel advisors say, stay away from protests and things.
Yeah, well, we had amazing guides, though. That was the thing. I mean, they kept us really safe, and they negotiated the whole way, and they were really adamant that they wanted to get us to Death Road. So they just did everything that they could to get us there. So we felt safe. It wasn't dangerous.
So apart from nearly killing yourself in the protests and on Death Road, what else did you do?
Then we just explored La Paz, and La Paz was amazing. It was a beautiful city, lots of lovely places to eat, and yeah, it was lovely. And the culture, of course, was really rich there. So yeah, we just spent a day wandering, and that was it.
So you'd recommend Bolivia?
I
If
would.
your name
I
rhymes
would.
with the place or not?
Yeah, definitely. And there's so much to see. If you go south of there, then you get the salt flats, and they're amazing. Apparently, I didn't get to go there, but there's a lot of really cool nature stuff to do down there.
Wow.
Yeah.
The Death
Highly
Road
recommend
is
it. actually
actually on. No, I haven't got a bucket list. I've just got it. It's too big for a bucket. I've just got a big long list of things I want to do, and that's one of the things I do want to see at some stage.
You
so-
do? Yeah. It was stunning, and it's all beautiful rainforest as you're biking along, although it's a little bit hard to kind of take in the scenery because you're like, ah. But
Well,
yeah,
at least
very
you're back
good.
now and you're back in one piece.
And safe, exactly. Yes, it was very good.
Good. Well, next we're going to the opposite end of the spectrum. We're going sailing.
Oh,
And
lovely.
we recorded this interview with Roger Condon from Star Clippers Cruises, and that will be after the break.
I'm never gonna let you go. I'll hold you forever. Oh, baby, I'ma let you know that we belong together. We belong together. I'm never gonna let you go. I'll hold you forever.
With over 2,000 flights taken every day, Airpoints is helping Kiwis make new memories. Airpoints, from Air New Zealand for all New Zealand.
At Invivo, we've got the biggest crush on Graham Norton. So we flew all the way to his place so he could have a crush on us. Graham Norton's own Sauvignon Blanc. Southern Hemisphere grapes meet Northern Hemisphere fab.
Now on Bon Voyage TV, we're joined by Roger Condon from Star Clippers, which is a really interesting cruise line. Welcome, Roger.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming. Now, Star Clippers is different.
Very
and
different.
We've only got to look at one picture to see why. But perhaps you can just talk us through a little bit about the history of your fabulous cruise line.
Oh, absolutely. Look, it is something that is quite unique. We're authentic tall ship sailing cruises. And in fact, we're replicas of earlier clipper ships. In fact, one of our ships is a replica from a ship that was built in 1902, although our ones are modern built. And in fact, the whole clipper ship goes right back to the mid-1800s when the clippers were built for speed, for profitability and so on. And so that's kind of where we came into it. We have owned by our founder, by one gentleman, Michael Kraft, who's a lovely Swedish gentleman, and he has always had a fascination and a love for anything under sail.
I was going to say, you'd have to,
You would
to
definitely
do
have
something
to.
to this degree, you'd have to have a passion for it.
I agree, and I think in some ways some people might have thought that he might have been a little crazy to take on a cruise line like this and actually build from scratch original clipper ships, but he did it. It's successful, and in fact we're building our brand new fourth ship, our first new ship. that we haven't had a new ship for over 10 years. So that is just fantastic as well. We're just building and expanding, and people, or travellers in particular, I think these days are looking for that unique twist to their holiday. They want to feel something special. They want to feel like they're doing something very personalised that their friends and family haven't done, so they're doing something quite unique for themselves. And as far as a cruise holiday is concerned, Star Clippers definitely provides that.
The question that people will have is, how much of the cruise is going to be under sail, or is it just for show?
Okay, well, it's a good question, actually. As I said, we are authentic clipper ships. So without a doubt, I guarantee you that we will raise the sails every time the wind is at our backs. There's no doubt about that. In fact, our passengers would never accept us to be motoring if the wind is at their backs. It, of course, all does depend on weather conditions, but to answer that specifically for you, I would suggest to you we're probably under sail about 35% of the cruising time.
Good. And will passengers be required to climb the masts and help unfurl sails, or is there an opportunity to assist?
There absolutely is an opportunity to assist. In fact, you can get involved in doing the rigging. As I said, we are those authentic clipper ships. We're the real deal. So you can help with the rigging, so it's still doing the ropes and tying the ropes and so on. But being modern ships, we're also assisted by motorised winches. So no, they don't have to go climbing into the rigging like the movies and pull the sails up, but certainly they can get involved. In fact, when we hoist the sails, it is a magical experience. Normally it is when we're leaving the port of an evening. The sun is usually setting. We put Vangelis through the PA system. It's quite romantic, actually. And you can help the sails go up. It's normally a beautiful magenta sunset. It is quite a beautiful experience.
Is the experience going to be more like yachting on Sydney Harbour, Auckland's Hauraki Gulf, or is it a cruise line?
Well, I guess we're a mix of yachting and a cruise line, because I think, first of all, to get across to you is that our ships are a lot bigger, perhaps, than what the viewers maybe have a first perception to be. Our ships take between 170 and 220 guests on board. So we're not a little sailing boat that takes 6 couples. We're actually quite large. Each ship has 4 decks. I mean, one of our ships is almost 1.5 football fields long. Can you imagine? She's in the Guinness Book of Records. She's one of the largest fully square rig ships in the world, so it does give you an idea. And to really answer that question, it really leads me in to tell you that because we're of that size, we're still small enough, we're under sail, you're going to get that full yachting sailing experience, but everything on board on a scaled down version still gives you that cruise ship kind of experience as well, with beautiful public areas, wonderful restaurant on board, an amazing amount of open deck space. So you are kind of going to get a bit of a combination, but with that unique aspect of being on the clipper ship.
So you've currently got 3 ships and a 4th one next year. Where are they currently based?
Okay, well, right now we have 2 ships that spend the entire European season in the Mediterranean from April through to October, so for the European spring, summer and autumn. Then during the North American winter, from around November through to April every year, those 2 ships transfer across to the tropical Caribbean. Yes. And what a perfect place to be on a sailing. You feel like Pirates of the Caribbean on board the ships. And then, in fact, one of the exciting news pieces for us, something that's brand new, is that we've just placed one of our ships, the Star Clipper, permanently in Southeast Asia. So for half of the year, she's on the west coast of Thailand and Malaysia during the dry seas and all those wonderful tropical beaches and pristine islands. And then during our winter, when we want to escape and go somewhere very warm, the ship actually has a 5-month season with round-trip cruises out of Bali to the Indonesian archipelago. Quite special, that one.
How long are the cruises?
The cruises, well, it depends. On average, I'd say most of our cruises are around 7 nights. So a nice week, which really fits in nicely to most people's holiday plans. So you can just slot in that little week's cruise module into whatever else you're doing in Europe or maybe the United States when you're doing the Caribbean and so on. But they go right up to around 14 days. Or if you want to, we've got like 21 days across the transatlantic. From the Caribbean to Europe and vice versa. So that's something.
So you could pretend you're Christopher Columbus and do the long voyage and
you could, right?
Discover the Caribbean.
Yes, discover the new world.
But back to Asia, because that's what we're probably most excited about. Can you just tell us again the cruises out of Phuket and out of Bali, when they're operating, and those are also a 1-week itinerary, I think?
That's correct, yes. So the Phuket itineraries are operating from around December through to April every year. That is their dry season, as I mentioned before. They're 7 days in duration, round trip out of Phuket. And in those 7 days, you're visiting 8 different pristine islands and gorgeous beach locations. And we have on all of our ships included in the fare an array of water sports. So all of the ships carry their own kayaks, laser boards, windsurfers, speedboats for water skiing, and that's all included. So a perfect destination.
So water skiing is even included?
Water skiing is even included, unlimited during our beach stays and so on, and great places to snorkel as well. And the Bali itineraries, or I should really say the Indonesian archipelago itineraries, they operate from May through to October, which I think is the perfect time. It's short haul. There really are very few other cruise options during our winter here in New Zealand. So it's a lovely alternative. And we're going to some of the places like the uninhabited Gili Islands. No one lives there, but they're written up for the diving and snorkeling. We go to Komodo to see the big dragons, of course. We're also going to take you to one of only 6 pink sand beaches in all of the world. And it really is pink. I've been there. On my previous days, I spent 14 years at sea. And we'll go to some of the smaller cultural communities and areas. It's quite a special itinerary to some rather remote destinations.
In Asia, the ship is the Star Clipper.
That's right.
Tell us a bit of the history of that ship, how old it is, what size, how many people on board?
Yes, well, she was built in 1991. She was one of the original twin sister ships in the fleet. So this is kind of the birthplace of the imagination of our founder of the company. And he built these 2 vessels. They take 170 guests on board. There are 2 swimming pools across their decks. And in fact, what's quite interesting about a clipper ship, or almost all sailing ships, is that we have more open deck space per passenger than almost any other modern cruise ship, and that's because of the design of a clipper ship. There's just loads of places that you can actually be out on deck, which is fantastic. She's 4 decks deep. She has a gorgeous piano bar. She has a wonderful restaurant on board, great cuisine that we deliver on board, international cuisine with regional flavours, etc., etc. And in fact, we have a tropical bar, which is outdoors, if you can imagine that. And a lot of our cruising does take place in those tropical or warmer areas. So you'll find before dinner and after dinner, almost all of the guests are outside around the tropical bar. And in fact, that's where we put all of our entertainment on. The crew put on a show. We might bring in a local entertainer from one of the islands to do one of the Indonesian or Balinese dances and so on. We do music and general trivia nights. The navigation officer will come out and do stargazing and navigate by the stars. Every day the captain comes out and at 10 o'clock and he gives all the passengers a rather watery tale as well, which is normally a lot of fun. And a lot of our entertainment on board is activity based. So you kind of get in there and do it, and you know, you even get to learn to tie a lot of nautical knots if you would like to do that.
It could be handy.
It could be handy. And in fact, if you like, we can harness you up and you can climb up to the crow's nest at the top of the mast. So it's very, very high, but you can do that.
Maybe when we're at anchor, I wouldn't.
Yes.
I probably wouldn't do that at all, but certainly not in a storm.
It's too high for me, but people love it. They do it, yeah.
Now, one of the things I've been told about is your bar prices. And good news for Kiwis, they sound like they're pretty reasonable. So perhaps you could...
They are
particularly the cost of a cocktail, I was quite surprised.
They're very, very reasonable. Just so everybody knows, it is a euro currency on board the ship. That's actually the currency that we use. And it's a cashless society though, so you just use your ship card and it all gets charged back to your cabin. But bar prices, I'm happy to tell you, I think we're one of the most affordable in the entire cruise industry. As an example, as you mentioned, a cocktail, which is normally here in New Zealand or even where I'm from in Australia, is so expensive. We have a flat rate for a cosmopolitan or a margarita of only €5.70, which I think is only about $9 New Zealand. So yeah,
I don't think you'd get that in any hotel or resort in the South Pacific.
Not at all. And even in the restaurant, our bottles of red and white wine start at just €15.
One of the questions I have is when we're in Asia, how long is the ship going to be in port each day, and what could passengers get to do in that time?
Okay, well it does depend on which itinerary that we're talking about. If we talk about the Thailand itinerary, round trip out of Phuket, in the actual 6 days in between the 7 nights, 2 of those days you get 2 ports in that single day, where you'll go to one beautiful island in the morning and then over lunchtime you'll sail to the next port, and in the next afternoon you'll be at a beautiful area to do snorkeling and diving. In Bali, in the Indonesian itinerary, it's a little different as well. You actually get 1 day at sea so you really get to experience under
Hopefully
sail
there's
that-
good wind.
Yes, yeah, hopefully there's good wind. But we tend to design our itineraries in such a way that the distances between ports are not very far. Because we need that flexibility, of course, because we need to tack to be able to get the winds and be able to give you that experience under sail on the clipper ship. Sometimes you might be sailing the whole morning until 10, maybe 11 o'clock or midday, and then arrive in the afternoon. So it really just depends on which port of call, but you certainly do get quite a bit of time in the ports because we are about destination immersion for our passengers as well.
Are there any shore tours included, or are those extra? How does that work?
They're not included, but they are optional. And you get it all in your final documents before you leave, all the information about the tours that we offer, and then on board you can book those tours. But as an example, on the Indonesian itineraries, a lot of the places that we go to, in particular on one of those itineraries, they're uninhabited Gili Islands. There are no tours. It is actually about the beautiful snorkeling, the sugar white beach areas, the crystal clear waters. So it again just depends. In Europe, of course, we offer a lot more land experiences and tours and shore excursions. But as I've mentioned to you previously, a lot of our clients or a lot of our passengers are well travelled. So we get into the smaller ports, right into the marinas and very close to town. So a lot of people elect to just step ashore and wander through those beautiful cobblestone streets on theare own.
Now, one of the questions, of course, has to be what will this cost me for a week? And perhaps if we use Thailand or Bali as an example, what are the starting prices? What can people expect to pay?
Well, right now we actually do have, it depends. I guess if you're going to be looking at next year, let's say 2018, we're just about to release those itineraries, so all the early booking savings and bonuses will be out. We offer early booking savings of up to 35%. So you will be looking at probably around just over 3,000 New Zealand dollars for the Indonesia cruise for 7 days per person. So just depending, yeah.
That's pretty good value.
It is good value.
And particularly with those cocktails, aren't you?
Exactly, it includes all your meals, all those water sports, the entertainment, it's great.
Okay, before you go, Roger, we will try and see if we can beat a better deal out for you, but
Okay.
it is customary on Bon Voyage TV for all our guests to walk away with a small gift.
Oh.
And this is from our sponsor Vivo Wines. So
Thank you.
I'd like to thank you very much for coming.
Well, thank you very much for having me.
And as soon as the cameras are off, I'll see if I can get a better deal, perhaps on the Bali, right up the Indonesian coastline back into Singapore. That 14-night itinerary looks good to me.
We'll just keel haul me a few times and we'll see what we can do.
Okay, thanks very much.
Thank you.
As promised, Roger has given us a great deal on Star Clipper Cruises. This one is on Bali. He has given us, or you, the viewers, an opportunity to get 30% off on 2 cruises in September. This is a 7-night cruise leaving from Benoa, which is right near Bali Airport. We've put this together with return Air New Zealand flights, which are non-stop into Bali, 3 nights at the fabulous Hilton Bali Resort, all your transfers by private car, a lovely full-day tour to Ubud, and of course the 7-night Star Clipper cruise, which takes you from Benoa and Bali around the beautiful Indonesian islands. And on board, you're getting all your meals and entertainment, of course, and you're out and about all day, every day, exploring Indonesia. As I've mentioned, Roger has given us a whopping 30% off 2 of the cruises in September, which is 2nd or the 16th departures. And when you wrap it together with the Fly Cruise package, it comes to a total of just $5,495. That's a great deal. Check out the details on our website bonvoyage.co.nz or call us on 0800 Bon Voyage, which is 0800 266 869. And after the break, we'll be back to Olivia with some news.
I'm never gonna let you go. I'll hold you forever. Oh, baby, I'ma let you know we belong together. We belong together. I'm never gonna let you go. I'll hold you forever.
With over 2,000 flights taken every day, Airpoints is helping Kiwis make new memories. Airpoints, from Air New Zealand for all New Zealand.
you know, people travel for all sorts of reasons. You recently went to South America purely for a honeymoon and exploration.
Yeah, yeah.
You've found some other interesting reasons to travel?
Well, obviously a really big thing is festivals. You know, people love to travel for these great, amazing festivals. And we've got a list here of the 10 top festivals in the world. So number 1 is Mud Festival, South Korea, which is the 21st to the 30th of July. Sounds interesting.
Might not make that, it's very soon.
Number 2, Goat Throwing, Northern Spain. That's been in January.
That sounds good.
Sounds a little bit mean. I love goats. 3, the Naked Festival, Okayama, Japan, with 10,000 men in loincloths battling to grab 2 lucky sticks thrown out a window by a priest. Maybe that's not suitable for TV.
No, perhaps not.
Number 4, cheese rolling in Gloucestershire. The target is a 4 kg wheel of double Gloucester cheese, which is given a 1-second head start on the runners and can reach speeds of 113 kilometres per hour on its descent.
No, I think that was won a couple of years ago by a Kiwi. So
Oh,
I'm
really?
going to look that up and I'll let you know.
Ah, that would just be so funny to watch. Number 5, Fight Fiesta, Macha, Bolivia, held in May each year. A kind of Andean fight club, the 600-year-old festival involves thousands of men drinking homemade spirits, then brawling in the street. Rocks are commonly thrown as well as fists. Death is not uncommon during the raucous drunken festival, but those who survive without serious injuries celebrate afterwards with enormous feasts, live music and elaborate traditional dances.
I love it, those who survive without serious injury.
Yeah,
get to
and then
celebrate.
they're all just best friends and really happy. Yeah, makes sense. Number 6, Festival of the Steel Phallus, Kawasaki, Japan. That's held in April each year, and you better check out our website for more details.
It's in the sealed section.
Number 7, Baby Jumping, Northern Spain, was just held in June in Castillo de Murcia and involves newborns being laid on pillows on the street. The confused infants, all born in the village in the preceding 12 months, are then leapt over by grown men dressed as yellow devils, a kind of ancient aerial baptism to absolve them of original sin.
Interesting.
Yeah, conventionally a christening would suffice, a point often made by the Catholic Church, but the locals are fiercely protective of their tradition. And number 8, Wife Carrying World Championship in Finland.
Now you're talking. This sounds like fun.
This was held just last week and has men racing each other down an obstacle course with their wives on their backs. Singletons are allowed to use stunt wives. 3 techniques are officially recognised: piggyback, fireman's lift, or Estonian style. The woman hanging upside down with her legs wrapped around her partner's neck while she grasps his waist. The winner of the event, which takes place in the remote town of Sonkajärvi, is rewarded with his wife's weight in beer.
Oh, it's worth doing then.
Yeah, yeah.
So it pays on occasion to have a larger wife.
Yeah, it kind of goes both ways, I guess, yeah. Number 9, World Body Painting Festival, Austria, which is later this month. Number 10, Balls of Fire, El Salvador, at the end of August. The town of Nejapa hosts an annual festival that dates back more than a century, where teams of locals get together and fight with fireballs. Established in honour of a huge volcanic eruption in 1658, the event involves 2 groups hurling blazing, gasoline-soaked rags at each other. Sounds fun.
Sounds like one of your Bolivian protests.
Despite sounding like a health and safety nightmare, injuries are rare. The day starts with a music festival, and as darkness falls, the fireball slinging begins.
Well, it makes our festivals like Matariki look very tame.
Yeah. I've been in a big festival in Spain years and years ago, and it was a big fire festival, and everyone was just letting off fireworks, and they had fire on the end of sticks they were waving around, and it was just chaos. It was madness, and it was noisy, and it was loud, and it was insane, but pretty amazing to be amongst. But you did feel very unsafe the whole time.
Are you sure danger's not your middle name?
Yeah, I enjoyed it a little bit.
Well, we are safely back in the studio after all that danger through the program.
Yeah.
We made it. Made it to the end. Al's still in one piece.
He's still there. He's happy.
Good. We've made it to the end of the show. Now, thank you all for watching. And until next week, bon
Bon
voyage.
voyage.